Ortiz is going to...
Oh, my God!
Unbelievable!
Welcome back to another episode of K.O.Nation Boxing. I'm Johnny Sig, joined with Kevin Perry. Kevin, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing great, man. I've had a great evening, and I'm ready to talk about some excellent boxing that's going to happen this weekend, John.
I tell you what, the best fight of 2020 on paper so far, and we're finally getting the big names in boxing fighting each other at the right time. Now, obviously, it's going to be hard to surpass Sapita and Baranchek. I mean, that was a monster war, which we covered already. But let's not take the focus off Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. Wow, what a fight this is. Vegas has it almost even money right now. Let's break down the fighters. This is what I call a tail of the tape type of fight. For Vasily Lomachenko, you got to look at he has more experience than Teofimo Lopez. And I'll get to Teofimo in a moment. Look at Lomachenko as a 7-year pro, 2 fights a year on average, 14-1 with 10 KOs. He holds WBA, WBO World Lightweight Championship. Okay, 32 years old, has a long amateur background of almost 400 fights. I think his record as an amateur is 396-1. He's a southpaw with angles and speeds. Best wins: Jose Pedraza, in my opinion, unanimous decision 12. Jorge Linares, TKO 10. Guillermo Rigadiao, stoppage in 6. Gary Russell Jr., majority decision in 12. Lost to Orlando Salido back in the day, only in his second pro fight, man. And, went on to fight Gary Russell after that. Let's take a deep dive right now, real quick, into Teofimo Lopez, who stands at 15-0 with 12 KOs, the IBF lightweight champion, age 23, right-handed and extremely powerful. We're going to talk about that in a moment. 10-month layoff. I don't think it hurts a fighter that is young, and it seems like he's been actively working. He did talk about having an asthma condition where he couldn't train. He was worried about COVID. That right now doesn't seem to bother him. He averages, before COVID, about 4 fights a year. Very impressive. Best wins, obviously, the Comey fight. Took out my boy Comey in 2 rounds. Sensational stuff. Diego Magdaleno, TKO, KO 7, and then we look at Mason Menard, which is one of the nastiest KOs in the first round that happened, I think, a couple of years back. So now that I've thrown all this information out there, let's break this thing down, Kevin. What are your thoughts about this?
Oh, man. Great fight overall. One of the best fights of the year, obviously. I'm going to give you, my little breakdown. Obviously, I don't want to go with the status quo. Most people are picking Lomachenko to win the fight, and I think that's a great pick for anybody because he's a pound-for-pound champion. He has wins in 3 different weight classes, one of the best fighters in the world. So obviously, you can't take that away from him. And Lopez is more of the upcoming fighter. So he has a lot to prove here. So I'm just going to give you my ways of how I think Lopez is going to win the fight. So, and part of that is this little move that Lomachenko does. So Lomachenko, he's very dynamic. I mean, he's great on his feet, and everybody gives him these huge accolades on his footwork and whatnot, and that's really what makes him a great fighter. He can kind of hit you from the left side, the right side. He's a southpaw, so it's going to be very difficult for Lopez because I think Lopez has only fought 1 southpaw in his career. Besides this fight, he has, I believe, 15 fights, so this is going to be his 16th professional fight. And I think the biggest thing for Lopez, in my opinion, is he's a power puncher. He's a good boxer, but he has power with the left hand, and he has power with the right hand. And that's going to be a big how would you say it? That's going to be great for him because most fighters are always looking for the right hand with the southpaw. And I think a lot of southpaws, they train to kind of block that punch. But I think actually in this fight, I think the punch that's going to be the key for Lopez is going to be the left hook. And the reason why is Lomachenko has this thing that he does where he wants to step around on the side. Um, I guess you would say what the right hand side off of
Yeah.
his right hand to kind of go around, and he's real sneaky with that. And a lot of right-handed fighters have a very hard time how to time and counter that punch. And Lopez is a great left hook, and most right-handed fighters have a hard time landing the left hook against a southpaw. And my view is, if I was training Lopez, I'm no boxing trainer, but this is just my view: is if I was training against that style, which I think is the key to Lomachenko's aspect of winning the fight, is to try to get around that side, get on the outside of that foot, and take the fight to Lopez. And Lopez has to time him with that, that tricky style that he does. And my view is, for him to win the fight, he's going to land a left hook. He's going to time him. And Lopez has excellent hand speed. He has excellent timing. He's a very powerful puncher. He's not like the typical power puncher that you see nowadays, where they're kind of just always looking for just big shots all the time. He's very accurate. He's very powerful with his shots. And kind of being a power puncher isn't always necessarily about how powerful you are. It's about the punches that you do not see coming. And I don't think Lomachenko's ever fought a fighter with the speed and the power, the explosiveness, the timing, the youth. This is not a Nicholas Walters. This is not a Guillermo Rigondeaux that he's fighting. Rigondeaux is a great fighter that he fought, but Rigondeaux was kind of a much older fighter. Pretty much spent almost his whole life in the amateurs. And Nicholas Walters was kind of a more flat-footed type of fighter, even though Teofimo Lopez is not known for having a whole lot of wrinkles in his game. But I think he's going to bring some other tools out in his game that you've never seen before. I'm just going.
You mentioned versatility.
Here, just to kind of go against the status quo. I'm going to pick Lopez. So if he loses the fight, you can beat me up on Sunday, but I'm just going out on a limb here. So how do you feel about that, John, and about what I said, and who are you picking?
I'm going to go there in a moment, but to play up to some of your points, there were some excellent points in there. The versatility of Lopez is going to be different from what Lomachenko has ever seen before, and the youthfulness, that's the key. He's fresh. He's got a little bit of experience. That's where I'm going to kind of segue into Lomachenko. He's got a lot of experience, but is it too much experience? I mean, if you tally up his amateur background, all his fights, everything he's done in the amateurs, and tally it up, match it together with what he's done as a professional, we're talking well over 400 fights. He's only 32, but that odometer might be a little taxing. I think it's up to Teofimo. I'm going to go strategy real quick to really press and make a statement early and put pressure. But I know Lomachenko is going to prepare for that, and he's very masterful on his feet, as you had mentioned. So it's up to for Lopez and his team to figure out a strategy to understand the maneuverability of what Lopez is capable of doing. Now, having said that, I think it's going to be a very explosive fight very early. I think that Teofimo is going to go out there because he's claimed he wants this fight for a long time. And this is his biggest fight. There's no doubt about it. The Comey fight was pretty big, but this is huge. So what happens here is that can we see if Teofimo Lopez can handle that kind of pressure? Now, I believe there's a crowd. One day they say there's a crowd, then there's not a crowd. I hear some people reporting vice versa. So he doesn't have like a crowd to motivate him or make him intense. We don't know about that. So there's so many different things that play into this. And that does play a factor into how someone steps up.
Let me cut in there real quick, John. There is supposed to be a crowd there.
That's what I heard last. Yeah, that's like every other seat or 20% or something like that.
250.
20% capacity.
In Nevada.
Yeah. All right.
We're in the beautiful state of Nevada, by the way. But do you think the age or the amount of fights from Lomachenko is going to affect him at all? I mean, do you think the youth and the age factor is going to be something here to look at, or how do you feel about that?
Well, a lot of people would think with all those type of fights as an amateur, and if you look at it as a professional, they've been doing this for a reason, 2 fights a year, like I mentioned before. I think it's because they understand that he's had so many amateur fights. And 32 really isn't that old, but we think about all the fights he's had. And it does look like he's slowed down a little bit in Lomachenko over the past, couple of years. Maybe that's a tactical thing. Maybe he enjoys fighting. On the inside and presenting himself with more challenges. Styles makes fights. I don't think he does that with Lopez. I think he'd be very foolish, especially early, to do that with Lopez. He's got to frustrate Lopez and make Lopez get desperate, because we've seen this, what happens with power punchers. And not that Lopez is limited to just a power puncher. He's an extremely good boxer. So, but when you go after a guy, like I feel that Lopez will against a guy like Lomachenko, is a very slick boxer. Say Lomachenko puts 5 out of the first 6 rounds in the bank, that's frustration, and then he gets more desperate, and that's where a guy like Lomachenko could pick someone off. So I'm going to move into what I feel is my ultimate prediction of this fight. I think Lopez is going to try his ass off. I really do. I think he's going to hit Lomachenko several times. Maybe Lomachenko goes down. Vasily, we've seen him go down and get up. I know that this is a different type of puncher. It's one of the biggest punchers in boxing, especially at a lower weight in Lopez. Having said that, I think Vasily will be intelligent enough to understand what he's got in front of him and go to a decision and win a unanimous decision in a very exciting fight where Lopez might floor Lomachenko, maybe stop him. Who knows? But I think if Lopez gets the win, it's by way of stoppage. I don't see him getting a decision, not because of politics or crowds or where their location is or any of that. I just think that if Lopez starts to really hurt Lomachenko, he could stop him. But I think that Lomachenko is smart enough to get to the finish line and look masterful and do what he does.
That's reasonable. That's kind of like the layman's. That's the layman's type of.
Take the safe bet, bro.
Yeah, that's it. Um,
We won't know how good
and
Lopez is
I've kind of been like,
until we see this type of fight.
yeah,
We don't know how good he really is.
I've been rolling like back and forth on this one, so I'm not going. I kind of gave you my view, but um, I think Lopez is kind of to me one of those special young fighters, and um, Lomachenko is such a great fighter that because you've never seen him against a really great opponent, and Lopez at the same time, I mean, you never really seen him really face a whole lot of adversity either. Um, it's just one of those bouts where you're really going to be on the edge of your seat. I mean, I hope it's not like a first round knockout or a complete domination by either guy.
I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. I think we at least get to the halfway point. I feel decision because I think Lomachenko is going to do his thing. And one other thing I wanted to mention before, okay, we understood that now there's a crowd, 20%, that could motivate or kind of be intimidating. But how does Lopez handle the spotlight of not only ESPN, regular ESPN? So this is a big fight. I mean, how many millions of people do you think would be watching this thing? That's got to weigh into a lot. This is his big time at the dance. This is his biggest stage at the dance right here. I'm telling you, people are people, man. Everyone's human. Does that motivate him, or does that make him like, oh man, I'm in with arguably a lot of people consider, Vasily one of the best pound for pound guys in the world. I certainly have him in the top 10. I don't go number one with him. I'm a fan of his. He's not particularly my favorite style to watch, but I understand what I see when I watch him. So it's like, Lomachenko, he's been there, dude. He's bone dry when it comes to emotion to these type of things. Lopez is very emotional. If you know anything, not to get all TMZ about his personal life, he's an emotional cat. Do those emotions motivate?
I would
Yeah.
think in a lot of ways the crowd probably, it's hard to say, but I think the crowd probably helps the less experienced fighter, like in that sense.
Okay.
Um, I don't know in this sense who the crowd would actually favor, because Lomachenko is probably maybe the more well-known fighter, but he's from Ukraine. and Lopez is an American-based fighter. He's from Brooklyn, but obviously they're fighting in Las Vegas, so that kind of equals things out. And the more experienced fighter, you would expect that the guy that has more world championships, the more well-known fighter, is gonna have more fans. So that would probably help him in a big fight where there's fans there. So this probably helps the upcoming fighter a little bit more. But Lopez is so explosive. So in that sense, Lopez, to me, when he fights, his punches just have, I guess you could say, more impacts. Like, they're more judge friendly. So I mean, when I'm watching some of his fights, he lands a left hook. They're the punches that you can see. Lomachenko is more a busy fighter. He throws more punches. He's very sneaky with what he does, and he's actually a fighter for a purist. So somebody who watches boxing, like, they can see the nuance in what he does, and they can appreciate the style that he brings to the table. For somebody who's never watched boxing, I think Lopez is somebody that an outsider can really appreciate a lot more. So,
I prefer Lopez's style, like as far as an entertainment value goes. Like, I like Teofimo's style better. I enjoy watching Teofimo better than I like watching Lomachenko. Now, nothing against Vasily, but Teo's got that what I call balanced style where he fights strategically, but he fights also in a power. He's a power boxer, as I call it. Like, he's smart. He's not like just some guy that goes out there and throws like barroom brawl type shots. Like, there's strategy to it. And he's also very passionate, where for me, Vasily, he's more technical. He's very loose with his technical ability and his skill set, but he's more methodical. He's everything like his plan. It's chess. It's chess. Where homeboy Teofimo's going in there and he's playing baseball, bro. He's swinging for the fences, and when he has to go on a defensive aspect and read an opponent, he'll do that. Like, again, I'm going to go back to the Comey fight, Richard Comey. What Teofimo did there was very impressive. Let's not forget how good Richard Comey had looked prior to that fight. That was a good look of Richard Comey. He had a nice little run there, and Teofimo came in and swept the floor with him.
Yeah, so
that was pretty impressive.
But styles make fights. So another
yes, sir.
That I want to ask you. So we now have the judges and the referee for the fight. So I'm going to bring those up to you. Actually, two of the judges that I know off the top of my head, and the referee. I'm going to give you your opinions on those and how you think that's going to affect the fight.
Sure. Sounds great.
Russell Mora is the referee for the fight. Excellent judge. I'm just being sarcastic there, in my opinion.
Yeah, obviously.
And then Julie Letterman, she is actually an excellent judge.
She's very good. She's very excellent.
So I can't remember the name of the third judge, but as you have two very solid judges there, how do you think that that's going to affect the outcome of the fight? If it goes the distance or there's any fouls or anything like that, how is that going to affect the fight overall?
Right. I just think if we think about clean boxing and just take out knockdowns or whatever for the moment here and just look at what, Vasily is known to do, which is outbox. And if he keeps that work rate going where he just keeps a guy in check, which I feel he could do, then I think the judges will favor that. And any rounds that are close, I think the judges will sway towards. But at the end of the day, Teofimo Lopez is a very marketable guy. He's a very up and coming, fun talking, smooth talking, quick witted kid with some story to him. And a lot of people like that and identify with his personality, the family issues, again, not to go TMZ, but, the things that he went through, it's identifiable, and he's grown a fan base. So that also could sway people to kind of have an agenda. So I think it depends on who's significantly dominant at doing what they do best. I think the judges will have that in their head. Okay, Teofimo's here to do what he does and try to put pressure, box intelligently, go for a knockout, show power. Vasily, he's there to box, look for openings, counter punch, make the guy look silly, and go for the opportunity when it's there. So I think if the judges are going with that mindset, whoever's going to win whatever round, they're going to favor towards whatever caters the fighter style.
Good fight coming up. Oh, man.
It's a good one, man. Let's think about that. Think about that. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. This was a quick one. This is one of those final thoughts. Okay, we'll be back on Sunday or maybe Saturday night even to go and dissect this thing from an analytical, strategical, circle jerk nerd standpoint, if you will. We're going to take a deep dive because I think this is going to be a good one, though. I really do. I think it's going to be a great fight.
No circle jerk there. But anyways.
You don't want to do the circle jerk? All right.
Thoughts-Kayonation podcast. Johnny C, Kevin Perry. See you next time.
Oh my God! Unbelievable! Now Ortiz is gonna. Oh my God! Unbelievable!
See you next time.